Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar, The Definitive Guide to Work Experience. We're just going to wait a couple of minutes to just let everyone else start joining, and then we'll get started. Hello to everyone that's still joining. We're just going to give it one more minute for everyone else to come in, and then we'll get started right away on this webinar. Okay, I think that is most people through the lobby now. So we will get started as we've just hit 6 o'clock. So thank you so much to everyone for coming, and welcome to StudyMind's webinar, The Definitive Guide to Work Experience. Today we're going to be running through everything that you need to know for work experience, including tips and tricks of where you can get it, and also understanding of how you can use this within your personal statement and within your UCAS applications, and really apply your practical experience within those statements as well to really help enhance your future careers and going into university or apprenticeships, anything that you might be moving forward to. So my name is Emma. I'm here representing StudyMind today, and I'm going to hand over now to our two wonderful experts who are on the call to introduce themselves. So Judith, would you like to go first?
Oh, hi everybody. It's fantastic that you've all joined us tonight. I'm very, very excited for you and your future, and it will give me enormous pleasure to help you get where you want to go. And you've already made the first step on that journey by joining us this evening. And so by the end of the evening, I'm hoping that we will have given you the information you need and the confidence you need to get where you want to go. Good on you, is what I say.
Fantastic. Thanks, Judith. And Manpreet?
Hi guys, I'm Manpreet. I've just completed 5 years of medicine, so I'm now a doctor, and I was in your shoes about 8, 9 years ago. So I can really give you an insight into where to look for work experience and where to get started, and then going forward as well.
Fantastic. Thank you. So we'll just get going.
So I'm just going to start off by sort of breaking it down what I'm going to go through. So the journey really starts now, and then beyond A levels. So, finding the right work experience. So you need to remember four things. So the importance of work experience, and then finding the right fit for you. Always remember, when you go looking for work experience, it doesn't already need to be, I want to do this. Work experience is to look for things that you are interested in, and then you can make a definitive answer after. I'm going to share one of my personal examples as well, where I went looking for work experience and what I personally did. And then I'll share some contacts and tips for you guys to get stuck into as well for your own journeys. So going on to sort of work experience in general, it's really there to boost your UCAS application, and Judith will go on to that a bit later on. And essentially, it's there for universities to actually see how motivated you are, how serious you are about the career that you're going into, and sort of exploring the real life world of that career. Work experience can really range from a week in the hospital, a day in the courtroom, or even in sort of associated places related to that career. It doesn't have to be in a GP surgery, a local hospital, which is what I'll go on to speak about. But essentially, you want to build those skills and reflect on your work experience journeys. And then the plus side is it gives you great stuff to speak about in your personal statement, and really boosts who you are as a person and things that you enjoy and you've learned from work experience. And then, like I said, you'll really figure out if that course is right for you, or even if it's not. There's no right or wrong answer with work experience. So Thank you. So I've just got some of the big career pathways, and I know there's a load more career pathways out there, but I'm just going to go through three of the big ones at the moment, and then I'll give you some general tips on how to go about work experience later. So starting off with law, law is quite a big sort of career in general. So you need to start local. So maybe look up, a few law firms around you and see what placements they can offer. There's a range of placements law firms can offer, but it's all about you being proactive and reaching out to them. Reach out professionally. So all of these careers, you'll be in contact with professionals. So I know you need to write professional emails, so making sure you're addressing them with dear sir or madam, or if you know the person you're addressing, make sure you include their name and tell them why you're interested in sort of the career in itself and what you'd actually like to learn, and always be polite. That will give you brownie points. And if somebody says no to you, don't take no for an answer. So like I said before, look at the associated places with law. So you can look at local councils, or maybe you can look at other associated places like citizen advice sort of firms, not just the big law firms. And then really focus on the skills that you're taking away from the law work experience and how those skills are going to sort of transfer if you were to go into a career like this down the line. And even get stuck into things at school and sixth form, like debating clubs and school councils, because they can also help with building your skills portfolio. And then going on to another career pathway, which I know is quite big, is engineering. So again, you might know some family, you might know some friends, or some of your teachers at your sixth form, or anybody you've come in contact with before, that might know some engineers or people in that field of work that could maybe give you a contact for someone for you to shadow or volunteer. And that's why contact portfolio is always quite big and really useful. And then, like I said, don't just always think about the large engineering firms, because I know there's loads out there, but think about the small companies as well that will be able to give you hands-on experience as well. Go digital. So in today's day and age, you can imagine a lot of things are virtual now, and there's loads of opportunities for virtual work experience. And engineering is one of them that's included in this. And on the screen, you can see some of the big companies actually do provide virtual work experience. So I know Rolls-Royce really have a really good work experience program. So really have a look at that and maybe get stuck in now. And then, like I said, show your curiosity, show your skills, get involved, join those clubs, build those projects, and they can add on to your personal statement and when you go on to apply for university as well. And then the last sort of big career pathway is medicine. So this is my career pathway. So, apply early. This goes for all work experience programs. Places often get taken up really, really early. So, the earlier you sort of start applying and start sending those emails and calling those numbers, the better chance that you have of getting that work experience as well. With medicine, just like law and engineering, you want to get those focused roles for those career subset skills. So, looking at those career focused roles. So, try volunteering, try getting involved in the care homes, charities, because, not all hospitals will be able to provide you with work experience. And I think that's really key to remember. And I know a lot of people have questioned whether volunteering counts as work experience. Volunteering does count as work experience because you're learning those skills, whether you're shadowing or getting hands-on involved as well. And obviously, remember with medicine, it's really important with patient interaction. So it matters just as much. And like I said, virtual options are always available now. So with medicine, there's virtual work experience, observe the GP online, and a lot of hospitals also give you like a virtual ward round kind of work experience as well. So it's really nice to get stuck in with those. And just like all other career options, medicine is about the people, not just the science. So any work experience that you can get where you can show those key skills that you need to become a doctor will always be in handy, and what you can talk about in your personal statement as well. So this was me about 8 to 9 years ago, when I was 15 to 16 years old, in year 10 and year 11. I wanted to do medicine, but again, like I mentioned before, I didn't know if it was the right fit for me. So I went out into the big world and I thought, where can I get work experience, or what other fields of work might be interesting to me? So if we start off with the top right-hand corner, I went to my local pharmacy. I simply walked in and I spoke to the manager. Was really polite, and I told him about my journey and what I wanted to go into. And he happily offered me 1 week pharmacy work experience. I learned the skills, I shadowed the pharmacist, and I saw how pharmacy was run. But for me personally, pharmacy wasn't for me, and I didn't think being a pharmacist really worked with my skill subset. But it was really good work experience, and that's what it's all about. And I reflected on that. Then I moved on to sort of the local elderly care home, and I volunteered there for about 6 months. So it really doesn't matter how long or how short your work experience is, just as long as you get what you want out of it. So I really got to know the residents, got to play bingo with them, and I really got to sort of show those skills that I had, which was empathy, communication, which is what you need to be a doctor. I really enjoyed it. Then I went on to more of the sort of clinical side of medicine things. So I really built a relationship with my GP. And whenever I went to my appointments, I would also speak to the reception staff. And I built that relationship. So then when it came to this work experience, I spoke to the local GP manager. I sent an email. I really told them my passion for medicine and why I wanted to do it. And then she was able to offer me a 1 week placement as well. And I got to shadow the consultant GPs there. And then I went on to hospital work experience program. This was probably one of the difficult work experience things that I had to apply for. So this was in my local hospital, King George Hospital. It was a 3-day program, and I fortunately got accepted. But I know a lot of people didn't, and I know how hard it can be to actually find work experience. But again, that was for me to shadow, learn some skills, see some cool procedures as well. And then that's what really set off my journey to wanting to do medicine and then going on to do my personal statement and then studying medicine. And here I am now, the doctor. So when we look at work experience, some of the top tips, there's going to be loads of top tips, but I think these are the main 5 top tips that I want to share with you guys. Start early. Opportunities fill up really fast, and I can't stress enough. Apply 6 months before. I know a lot of you on this call are ranging between the ages of 15 to 18 years old. Whatever age you are at the moment, get started and get stuck in. This is for your future and for your careers, and it's really important to stay proactive. And this is coming from somebody that was proactive and the result of it as well. Don't wait for openings. Email companies, get those numbers, call them. Don't think you're pestering anyone. I know it might seem like, oh, you haven't got a reply from a certain company. A lot of emails get lost in inboxes. Email again if you have to. I did the same thing. Tailor your approach. So if you are interested in a certain thing, don't be scared to go for it, but also look at the wider associated things around it as well. Always think outside the box. So like I said, look at the associated careers around that main career that you're looking into, because there might actually be something waiting for you that you didn't actually know about. And then, like I said, reflect, don't just observe. Work experience is there for you to enjoy, but also things for you to learn and then apply going on when you start your careers, and apply to the course of your choice. And then these are just a few contacts that I've come up with, but there's loads out there, but this is just a summary table that I've created for the major sort of work experience pathways, but I've also put a general one there as well, because I know there's a load of other careers out there, and where to go looking for them. So LinkedIn is a really, really good platform. You don't need to make LinkedIn profiles now, but you can also access LinkedIn as a guest and have a look for contacts. It's a really, really good place to find those people's emails, addresses, phone numbers, and sort of get into contact with them to start your work experience journey. And it's great for networking. And then lastly, I just want to finish off by saying, once you've done your work experience, thank them, because it's taken a lot of time for them to either provide you with the work experience or get you there in the first place. Ask for feedback. It's always nice to hear if you've spent, X amount of days or weeks with them on how they really appreciated your help or some of the skills that you've actually shown them and what you've learned. And always ask for a reference. Those references will really, really help you when you go on to do your personal statement and your UCAS applications. And it's also just good to keep in hand. You never know when they're going to come in handy a few years on. my work experience references that I did about 8 years ago came in handy about 2 years ago. So make sure you keep them and make sure you ask for them. And it leaves a really lasting impression as well when you do thank them and you tell them thank you so much for, helping me on the work experience program. Lastly, what I want to sort of stress on, and I did speak about a little bit earlier, is that work experience can be really, really hard to find. And I know a lot of firms and work experience places might say no to you. What I'll say at first is don't take no for an answer. Do keep following it up. But there are opportunities out there to find work experience. I did work experience about 8 to 9 years ago, and I really struggled. And now in today's day and age, we're in 2025 now. The competition with a lot of students applying to some of these top courses can be really hard. And I've seen it myself with, a few of my nieces and nephews and a few of my friends. But, StudyMind actually does offer work experience, and I'll sort of hand it over to Emma to speak about the services that we provide as well.
Thank you so much, Manpreet. It's great to hear all those top tips. And I just want to confirm to everyone that we will be sending the recording and all the slides after this webinar. So you will have all of these contacts and all these ideas that Manpreet's spoken about just now as well. So as mentioned, work experience can be really, really tough to find. There are so many opportunities and alternative work experiences that you can get now. And here at StudyMind, we really understand this, sort of that difficulty of finding relevant work experience, or also work experience where you're actually experiencing the job and actually getting one-to-one contact time with professionals in businesses, and ensuring that you're getting those opportunities that are going to help enhance your future as you're moving through it. So I'll quickly take the opportunity to tell you a little bit about StudyMind's work experience. So we have work experience available in over 20 of sort of the most competitive careers. This spans everything from law and medicine and engineering, also through to psychology, computer science, investment banking, creative writing, fashion, everything. We do loads and loads of different work experiences. And what I think makes ours maybe a little bit separate or different is we really provide those sort of immersive real world career simulations in an environment where you can really get in one-to-one with the people that you want to network with, which brings me on to the networking opportunities. Obviously, Manpreet spoke a lot about it's really about knocking down those doors and finding those people that can help you get to the next stage in life. And I think what's really important about StudyMind's work experience is that we deliberately set up all of our work experiences to be led by tutors and industry executives and professionals. And what's really important about this is if you are going into a career where you perhaps don't have that network behind you, we can help set that up for you. And that's something that we really enjoy doing as well. And then on top of all of this, and this is obviously what Judith's going to be coming on to talk about as well, involved in our work experience, we want to give you a fully immersive, full product that you can really take forth. So we also offer top tier careers, admissions, and UCAS tutoring involved within our work experience as well. And I just wanted to give you a couple of highlights about some of the things that we provide. So this is one of our medicine work experiences. So we provide lots of opportunities for shadowing at London teaching hospitals, getting involved in sims and doing emergency simulators, and also really getting hands-on and learning clinical skills such as suturing. And then there's another example on our banking work experience. We provide a live simulated trade floor where you can compete against your peers to make the biggest trade of the day, which is always a really, really exciting day and gets very competitive. Also for like our law work experience, we also take students onto the Royal Courts of Justice where they can see court cases actually in action. And then again, bringing in that networking piece, it's then meeting the lawyers afterwards, talking through the cases and understanding why the decisions were made that they made, and networking with them for the future as well. There's also opportunities to take part in mock trials and everything like this. So there's loads of opportunities within the StudyMind work experience. I think it's also really important to say that all of our work experience comes with a certificate of completion for applicants, and this will also help with your personal statements. And as Manpreet mentioned, not even just that, it's moving forward into the future world as well to really show employers how much you were dedicated to this career from a younger age. So I think that's everything in terms of StudyMind's work experience. As I said, we'll pass all of these slides on as well, so you'll be able to see all of this. But I'm now going to hand over to Judith, who's going to discuss how to take this experience and really make it work in those UCAS applications as well.
Hi, again. I've spent years and years and years working on personal statements and working with students, getting them into university, getting to the universities they want to go to, usually high tariff universities, as we call them, or you might call them Russell groups. And I'm so excited for you because you're taking ownership of your future by being here tonight. You've obviously got the support of teachers, Study Mind, your parents, and you are attacking your future. You're taking ownership. And in this highly competitive world, that is what you've got to do. So I absolutely adore personal statements, and not many people say that. But what I like doing is working with students, getting them to tell me all about themselves, and then working with them to craft it. And it has to be crafted because you've got 4,000 characters to sell yourself. Now, if someone said to me, oh, write one side of A4 all about yourself, Judith, I'd be absolutely delighted. But for some reason, you super intelligent, super academic students don't like doing that. And I'm thinking, oh, why not? So what I think you need to be thinking of, don't you dare go on that there internet and buy one, because I've always felt that if you can't write 4,000 words about why you're going to be a brilliant academic, is it the right future for you? So the first thing you have to do now, it's going to be in 3 questions. And they say, oh, it's changed. It's changed. It hasn't really changed. The first question is in your face, 1, 2, 3, 1 sentence max. Why do you want to study this course or subject? And I would say to you, if you don't know, then whoa, don't do it. So you need to convey that passion in a sentence. I want to study geography because I'm determined to improve the ecology of our world and save it for future generations. Bang. I see myself in 10 years' time as a leading authority on Brechtian drama. I don't know where that came from, but you need to sell it that you are not just, oh, well, my mum thought it would be a good idea. Oh, I couldn't think of another subject to do. No, no, no. You have to be passionate about it because it's your future. Then you, and students often are muddled up about this. You're probably doing 3 or 4 A levels and you're doing an EPQ as well. And they say, well, I'm doing English, so I'll just write about my English A level. No, 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 because all your subjects are adding to the hugeness of you, the academic. Yes. So everything you do, say you're doing maths A level, that means you're accurate, you are confident, you can do differentiation. Oh, just made that up. And those are the skills, yes? If you're doing Spanish, then you understand grammar and language and you can memorize a vocabulary and you can speak in the idiom of the country, all these transferable skills. If you're doing biology, then you understand theory, you understand health and safety in the laboratory, you know how to write up an experiment, you know how to set up a hypothesis, and then if it doesn't work when you do the experiment, then you can alter that hypothesis to make it work. So these skills are that you're acquiring across all your A levels are absolutely right and useful for whatever you decide to do. So if you do the extended project qualification, that is something universities love to hear about because it sets you apart, because you have walked the extra mile. You've taken on a piece of independent study, you've had to do a Gantt chart, you had to research, you had to gather your resources, you had to develop your hypothesis, you had to evaluate. So it's got to all get in there somewhere, 4,000 characters. And then the one that we're very interested in today is, what have you done outside of education and how is that helping you to be a top flight academic? And that's what we're going to be talking about. So if you can have the next slide. So if you manage to, we know it's difficult, we know, and not all of you are going to be able to get any work experience. However, don't underestimate the things that you do that make you have transferable skills, that give you transferable skills. So you should be doing things online. You should be listening to TED Talks. You should be joining online forums at your universities. You should, at any university, just go on their web page and join a discussion. You should be able to do a MOOC, one of these independent courses. And if you could have the next slide, please, that'd be great. So if you do manage to get work experience, thinking of your personal statement, you don't just say, I did a week in a bank. That won't, you've got to make it work for you. So as we've mentioned before, you're watching, you're observing, you're noticing, yes? So you make notes. Where did I go? What was the name of the organization? What hours did I do? What dates did I do? And this is the most important thing. List what you actually did, what you saw. And you think, well, I won't forget that. But actually, you need that precision because you've got to filter it down so it's a diamond on your personal statement. So who did you observe? What did you what meetings did you go to? Were you given a task? Did you join a team? Were you observing anything in an office or wherever it is you got to have your work experience? Who did you talk to? What was their role? And you will have, and this is linked to how do you get work experience. There will be people whose part of their job description is to help people come and experience their workplace. So it is useful to phone them up and ask for the name of that person and then contact them privately via email or by telephone to tell them about yourself. What you need to be doing is making those connections. Why are these people doing that? What's intriguing? What surprised you? Oh, it never occurred to me. What did they have to do before you could work into the office? Did you have to have a lanyard? Did you have to have an ID? What was the signing in system? Were there people working from home? Was there a day that everyone had to come into the office? Was there a dress code? What was commuting like? Did you have to get up at 6? Did you have to find your own way there on public transport? All this is learning. Did they have to give you health and safety training? Was there a fire drill? What mentoring and coaching opportunities did you have? Did someone come and talk to you and explain how things worked? And did you get any feedback? And most importantly, did they ask you to come back in your next holiday because they found you extremely useful in the workplace? Now, all that is gold dust. And that's why you should be asking all the time, why was I doing this? What did I observe? What did I learn from that? And if I could have the next slide, please. So how do I get this into my personal statement? As I say, saying, oh, I worked in catering. No, you've got to say what you did. So one of the little sentence starters that will help you, I was surprised by. So it's things like, I didn't realize that I would have to sign in on arrival and sign out. I forgot. So there's probably not enough room to say something like this. I was intrigued by, I realized that it was difficult when I was able to, I was nervous, but, and all those are about you responding to the experience you had. So it's honestly isn't enough to say I went there. For example, I had a student who managed to get work experience at a vet's dealing with horses, and I was absolutely delighted for her because it's very difficult. And then she went on to have an interview to do a degree in veterinary science, and the first question they said was, we hear you went to a practice dealing with horses. What did you think about the anesthetic they used during operations? Whoa. Luckily, she had made notes, she did remember, and she had some thoughts on it. But this is what I'm thinking about, that some of the high tariff universities, you will get an interview. And because all of you will have very, very good A-level predictions, what they're looking for is to find out what sets you apart, what makes you different, what makes you special in this highly competitive world. So could I have the next slide, please? Thank you. Sometimes you don't know how good you are, and oh, bless you all, bless. So for example, if you're at McDonald's and you've got those gorgeous 4 golden stars, now McDonald's has got a training program that is known worldwide, And people always forget to say that they got the 4 stars. B&Q have got a fantastic training system, so don't forget to mention that. Say you just say, oh, I work in a shop. No, it's called retail. And again, you talk about the health and safety, you talk about till training, and you just say, oh, well, I just work in a shop, miss. No, no, no. You understand about stock control. You understand about returns. I'm particularly interested if you worked in customer services, because that's a difficult job. You get people who are stroppy. You get people who are under pressure because they don't realize in the law they've got rights to bring goods back. And you're dealing with the public and you're representing the shop or the firm in face-to-face. You're representing them to the public. If you work in hospitality, maybe it could be a pub or a cafe. You have to know the law about serving alcohol. You need to understand what last orders mean. You know how to set up, how to clear up, and what happens with the tip routines. You've also been taught about health and safety. You may have had food hygiene training, but you're definitely aware of food hygiene. You may be chopping the carrots. I think that makes you a sous chef, but I'm not sure. Kitchen porter, you have to be aware of how to carry heavy burdens, and you have to make sure that everything is fresh and clean and tidy, and you understand about recycling and waste management. Now, if you may not be able to get any work experience as such, but in your volunteer roles, then say you work in Oxfam or something like this, you will understand about online sales, you will understand stock control, stock selection, information delivery, the ethos, donation and membership schemes, and dealing with vulnerable adults and children. All these make you a special person who is rounded and multi-skilled. If I could have the next slide, please. So, making it work for you, medical and dentistry. If you shadowed a GP, I think Manpreet dealt with this really. You have to say, what did you see and do? Why could you not have much hands-on experience? So that means you're aware of health and safety and confidentiality, and why could you not read the patient files? Did you sit in on appointments, and did the GP ask the patient for permission? And all these are really important in terms of safeguarding and data protection. If you're in a hospital, again, who did you shadow? What procedures did you witness? What surprised you about that? So did you see bloods being taken? Did you see medicine being administered? Did you see blood pressure tests? What did you find upsetting and difficult? And sometimes, people are unaware that you will see people in dire distress. Can you deal with it? What did it make you feel? And you're not expected to deal with everything brilliantly well, but you have to be aware of what you might have to deal with in the future. And I think probably more important than that, and than all of those, is what inspired you. I knew this was the career for me. I knew that I have the skills to do this well. So if I could have the next slide, please. So it's all about being specific. Don't just say, oh, I did D of E. You need to say, was it bronze, silver, or gold? All admirable, but they're all showing you that you can plan a project, that you're motivated, that you're determined, that you don't mind a little bit of suffering, camping out. If you're in a choir or an orchestra, again, using it for you. Level 8 trumpet says a lot about you, yes. If you work in ecology, what did you actually do? If you're the captain of a team, what problems did you have to deal with? How did you develop camaraderie? If you're in the working in amateur dramatics as an actor or a lighting engineer, what did you learn from those creative opportunities? If you're working in a charity, or you're volunteering, or you're doing a fundraiser at school, what did you have to think of? What did you have to plan? How did you motivate those around you? So how do these experiences make me a better academic? They all indicate that you're resilient, that you're independent, that you're a natural leader, you're a team player, you're a risk taker, you're a motivated person, you're honorable, you're moral, you're loyal, you're dependable, you're reliable, you're engaged. And all of those qualities make the ideal candidate. And so you need to demonstrate how you have those qualities. The next slide, please.
I think we're on to the questions now.
Oh, great. Okay. I'm sorry if I gabbled, but I'm too excited. I'm just so delighted about the next stage in your lives, and we're all here to help you on those stages. Sorry.
No, absolutely. And I think thank you both of you for all of that insightful information as well. I think so many other key takeaways are don't say no, and also don't take no for an answer, and there's also there's so many opportunities out there that you can use, especially in your personal statements and moving forward to UCAS and everything. So we'd obviously like to open the floor up for questions now. So the Zoom chat is open and available. If you have any questions that you'd like to ask, please feel free to type those in. We do also have some of the pre-submitted questions, which I can happily talk through some of them now. So we picked a few questions which were coming up a lot during the pre-submit as well. And Judith, Manpreet, feel free to jump in either way. We can do this as a round table, that's fine. So one of the questions that we received quite a lot was, how did you decide which work experience is more valuable than another when you're submitting your application?
I'll jump in now, and then if anybody else wants to. I did a load of work experience. So the four things that I did mention, so the pharmacy, the elderly care home, the GP, and the hospital. I did those work experiences initially because I wanted to see what the right fit was for me. But after doing each of the work experiences, and I took a lot of sort of the key home messages and the skills I did from all of them. But when you go on to do a UCAS application, I think it's really important to make sure you mention the relevant work experiences to the course that you're applying to. Yes, all of them will have the skills that you've done the work experiences at. So feel free to mention them. But, after doing my university interviews, because medicine, there's interviews, they will really nitpick what you've written in your personal statements. So if you do write, for example, you did pharmacy work experience, I chose not to put that into my personal statement because they will ask me, why did you not apply to pharmacy? Why have you applied to medicine? So yes, put those skills in that you've learned from all the other work experiences, but do tailor what work experiences you are putting in your statement in relation to what course you are applying to, is what I would advise.
Also, I would say you can keep some ammunition up your sleeve. If there's no room on your personal statement and it's likely to be a degree that you're interviewed for, then you've got another example in addition to the personal statement about, a work experience. So keep some ammo up your sleeve, I think, for interviews as well.
Yeah, that's really useful to make sure you've got everything still to talk about as well. And Manpreet, just as you mentioned your volunteering, I've just got another question here on focused on medicine work experience of how important is volunteering, and for work experience, is 2 hospital placements enough?
Yeah, so I know nowadays prospective medical students applying and going on to do work experience, they think hospital is what you need for work experience. I only did one hospital work experience, and I also have friends of mine that are now doctors that actually did no hospital work experience, and they just did solely volunteering in these charities, like Great Ormond Street Hospital Charity, your Oxfam. There's loads of charities out there. And they did sort of elderly care homes, no hospital work experience, but got those high tariff universities that Judith were talking about, the interviews for them, and are now doctors. So it doesn't actually matter if you get that hospital work experience that everyone bogs down onto. I really do recommend volunteering because actually from volunteering work experience, I got the most transferable skills out of it because I actually got that hands-on experience, but also the shadowing experience when I spoke to the elderly residents. I actually got to help them, feed them lunch and dinner, play bingo with them, like I mentioned, and help the workers there sort of communicate with them and move them around where they need to be moved around. Whereas, my hospital work experience, yes, I had the same experience with my skills and the communication, but like Judith mentioned, you are limited in hospital work experience and GPs because of the nature of health and safety and confidentiality, because of the age group you guys are in when you're doing your work experience. But equally are more important, and it doesn't really bog down if you have 5 hospital work experiences. It's about the range and looking at the skills and what you're actually trying to gain from that and reflect on.
Absolutely. Thank you. Just moving away from medicine for a second, we've also had a few questions based on the initial emails sending to companies when you're requesting work experience and how this might work. So the question that we received is, what counts as acceptable and unacceptable in sending emails to companies requesting internships or work experience, etc.? So I guess really focusing on sort of what you were discussing earlier in terms of you don't want to, you're not pestering, but is there a level where it gets to where you go, or maybe not, and how far can you push it?
It might be that you could look on the firm's website, as I said, to find out the name of somebody in HR, that's human resources, and address it directly and specifically. Because, as we said, if you send emails without a specific name on them, they can get lost. I would still smile about students in school just writing me emails which began, "Dear Mrs." Okay, so think about the courtesy and the politeness, and you do not want to send something that's badly spelt. So you reread it, you, as I keep using that word, you craft it. You don't want to be up on somebody's notice board as the world's worst email. So you show it to somebody else, very polite, yours sincerely, yours faithfully. Make sure you've got oh, this is something, a sensible email address. As my own son had I didn't realize, but his email address was completely unacceptable. And you're sending that to hope to get work experience. You are kidding me. So you need to think about that. Don't just dash it off and make it, don't send off 100 of saying exactly the same thing. Make it direct and personal to the firm or office or hospital or doctor that you are applying to. And it takes time and it's effort, and that's what life's all about. So I think.
I think just to add on there, some work experience in firms, when you go onto their pages, they will already tell you if they are looking for students for work experience. So it will save you time if you have a look and just do a little bit of research about where you're actually applying to, because some firms will have a work experience maybe tab on their website, or it will say something like we're open to students, or some actual firms will say we don't accept students and work experience. So don't waste your time and email them, because they won't respond to you ever. I did that mistake and I did email a few places and I didn't look at the website and it said we don't accept students. So I was waiting for a reply that was never going to get to me. And like Judith mentioned, be polite in your emails. Get somebody like your mom, dad, siblings to maybe read over your emails before you send them off. And then what Emma was mentioning, what's too far and what's about pestering and things like that. What I would say is if they're looking for students, send that email, address it to the right person. Maybe wait 1 to 2 weeks. When you get to that 2 weeks, maybe keep a reminder on your phone if you haven't had a reply. Maybe tailor that email again, just be like, I did contact you about 1 to 2 weeks ago. I'm just hoping if there was any update on anything regarding the work experience. And then hopefully you might hear back. If you don't, it's not a problem. Just move on to the next one and then, reply. So that's what I'd probably say for that.
And also don't do one at a time. I sent, I'm waiting 2 weeks and then I'll send another one. No, send a lot all at once, and you've got a greater chance of success.
Yeah, definitely. And that leads into life after work experience with getting universities, jobs. You never just apply to the one. You're always looking for all of the wide opportunities that you can get as well. So this is sort of applicable advice throughout sort of your career journey as well, which is a really good way to look at this as well. We've also just had another question come in talking about what work experience would you recommend for those under 16? And is there work experience that you can get for those under 16? This individual has asked, especially with medicine, but I'd be interested in if there's any understanding on just generally getting work experience at a younger age. I know I did get work experience from a younger age, and it was just like a paper round or like in my parents' kind of thing. But I don't know if there is any sort of opportunities wider than that.
I would say that going wider, and then I'll narrow it down, going wider, like, your local libraries, they're always looking for volunteers to help them, all those books that people put in the wrong shelves, or just helping out with kids that come over in the summer holidays. There's like book reading programs, especially in the summer holidays, which I know a lot of under 16-year-olds will also be free. you know, you will have to take time out. This is the sacrifice that you guys are going to put into for your future careers. They are also looking for volunteers under 16. So go to your local libraries. And like Emma said, like going to some local shops, local charities, will happily take you in for work experience and sort of volunteering in that sense. Going into medicine, yes, I understand under 16s, it might be a little bit of a skew just because of how we mentioned health and safety, confidentiality, and because you're not at that age where they'll be able to put you into a clinical environment. But what I would say is shadowing behind the reception desk at GPs is where you can maybe get started. Don't take my word for it because I know a lot of GPs are under scrutiny for that because you're still looking at some confidential information from that end. But like I said, go to those care homes, go to those local libraries and the shops and the charity shops. And then when you get past 16, you can go on to do like your work experience at your hospital with your GPs because then they will be able to let you in.
Absolutely.
Another good idea is coaching and mentoring younger students at your school. So obviously you're going to be highly academically able, and it's a great skill to have if you've coached students in year 8 who perhaps are struggling with chemistry or maths or English, and you had a club and you met them every week and they made progress. And that is another sort of experience. I was just thinking to myself, even if you had an elderly relative and you would become much more aware, I think, if you were helping them and you were cutting the grass or doing their shopping, and you'd be aware of mobility issues, and you would understand that people of a certain age are struggling with how to use smartphones. They don't know how to help to order food online and do a shop online, and those are the sorts of things you'd be helping them with. And then that you would become aware of the growing difficulty of an aging population, and you could make that work for you. And you'd also be a jolly good egg and helping society. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was going to touch base a little bit on that as well, Judith, but we're kind of touching on what you were saying earlier about transferable skills. I think obviously work experience is incredibly important, but also under the age of 16, there is probably more of a limit of what you can do, especially when it goes into medicine. And actually, like any career, like a lot of the big companies won't take somebody under the age of 16, but it's looking at those other things that you do within school or outside of school. If you're a school captain, what can that look like? And all of that is still relevant on your personal statement because it's still giving you all those transferable skills, which all of these companies want and need. And you can actually use those to get the initial work experience to do the next step. So I think it's amazing that you're even thinking about getting work experience from a younger age, but it's also looking at what you have available to you and really reflecting on those experiences and how you can use those to move yourself forward as well. And then I had a few other questions about personal statement. I'll just check on the time. Yep. So we had quite a few questions coming in. Let me just check. About how much enrichment and supercurriculars is it advisable to mention on a personal statement?
It's all about space, and it's all about relevance, and it's all about that crisp diamond useful. So I always call it the supra curriculum, and and I think that's really important. What have you done beyond the A levels? And if you've been up to a conference at UCL or something like this, or you've as I said before, you've got you've listened to a TED talk and you've responded to it, or if you've been to Munger or something like this, then I would put this, it's very, very difficult. You have to decide what can go in and what can't go in. And if this is adding value to you for that degree, then get it in somewhere. But as I say, for dentistry and medicine, you're going to get an interview and they will say, tell me something that you did that was beyond your A levels. But I do think it's important to get EPQ in, a supracurricular. I don't know, Manpreet, what do you think?
Yes, so when I did my personal statement, always remember as well, just like a heads up, the first personal statement you write is not the one you're going to send off. I had
Yeah.
about 10 drafts. It was draft 1, draft 2, final draft, and I was sending them to my tutor, I was sending them to my mom, my dad, my sister. So make sure you draft what you think is important and then make somebody else read it, and then they'll give you some ideas on, like, you might want to cut this out, you might want to cut that out. You might even read it yourself and think, I've spoke about one particular thing way too much. And like Judith mentioned, my medicine interview, I had 2 interviews, and they asked me specific questions about like extracurriculum, but I'd only written 1, 2 sentences. But then in my interview, I could speak about it a little bit more, and that was
Mm.
5 minutes of me speaking about that. So yeah, it is quite sort of like you sit on the fence by, you don't want to write too much super curricular stuff, because the work experience that you've done, like at the law firms, at the banking, and all those things are really important as well. And you want to reflect on those because that's a career choice you're going into. But if there's a really good transferable skill that you've done from your super curricular, or like your sports activities or your hobbies, for example, that will really shine your personal statement, go ahead and put them in. But like Judith mentioned, there's 4,000 characters that you need to stick to.
Yeah.
So it can be really hard.
Yeah, it's the same with wider reading. We're all terribly proud of you if you've read loads of books. That's fantastic. But just listing them and the full name of the author, absolutely not adding value. And it's better to talk about perhaps one book and you must say what it gave you, what insights it gave you, and why you enjoyed it. There's no points at all for just listing reams of books that you've read, although you have to, and it's a wonderful thing, but that isn't the place for it.
Yeah, I think that's both touching on a very interesting point, where I think so much of it is what's the connection to making it relevant to either the course you're going to study, or the university you're going to. How are you, when you have a super curricular, when you've done enrichment programs, is there something that you've learned from that you can then really take forward and go, this proves that I have this transferable skill? And if that transferable skill goes across 4 of your supercurriculars, you don't need to mention all of them, because the important part is that transferable skill getting you in, as well as showing your dedication to wanting to study the course at university. So I think it's really about the purpose of the personal statement and what you're using it for. And as Judith said, we don't just want to list everything. It's more about, how can I use this to show who I am as a person, and connecting it to the course and the university with relevance and with transferable skills that they're looking for as well. Great. And I know we've had a few specific questions come in on careers that we haven't touched on as much. So there was a couple of questions on specific experience with psychology and criminology, and specific experience sort of more looking at primary education and everything like that. I think I'm not going to put Judith and Manbury on the spot unless you've got anything you want to jump in with. But I think the best thing to do there is to really follow, like I said, we'll be sending the slides through, all of the tips that Manbury and Judith have given at separate points. So, going wide. So who are the big companies who potentially say we do work experience, looking at those. Then it's going more local. So for example, with psychology, maybe there is a counselling psychologist office near you, a private office near you that you could walk into and create a rapport with those people. I think it's about doing your research into those experiences and understanding the companies that you could then move into. And then similarly with putting that onto your personal statement, it's the same theory in terms of what did you learn, who did you talk to, what did you see, and all of those things as well. I think criminology is a very interesting topic as well, where there's quite a few work experiences from things that I've seen in the past, like for example with like the Met Police and things like that. But additionally, there's also, with someone like the Met, there's also opportunities to just go in and do a shadowing day. They do educational reach out and things like that. So that could be a really interesting path to go down for that. But I think it is, again, it's just about how big can you go? Who are the big companies I can look for? And then bringing it down into who are the local companies, and just really knocking down the door on that as well. So I'm just going to go through to our last question, which is a little bit more about actually being on the work experience. I thought this was an interesting one to finish with, because it's something that we might not think about as much. But somebody was asking, how do I build a rapport with the person I'm shadowing? And I think this is quite interesting, because it's sort of looking at the actual experience. And it's not just how can I make the most of it with the reflection after, it's how can I actually make the most of it whilst I'm there, build that rapport and do that. So I'd be really interested in your thoughts on those.
I feel quite passionately about this because it's again a life skill. How do you build rapport? And one of the things you do is you turn up on time, you're utterly reliable, your dress code is appropriate for the day, you are open to advice, you can take the initiative, you ask questions, you are proactive, polite, interested, engaged, all those things that will get you wherever you want to be in life. And yeah, and think, just make, even offering to make a cup of tea, even washing up a few cups in the sink, or anything like that, that shows that you'll take the initiative and that you are willing to listen and learn and ask advice of those around you. I think that was a great question, because it's a question that you can apply in any area of your life. How do I get on with people? And that's what rapport is. Manpreet?
I think it's really important. So like when I was on work experience, like you are going to be nervous. Building rapport is always going to be difficult in the first time. I was really shy. I was really introverted back then when I was 15, 16 years old. Completely turntables now. Like I'm a completely different person now with all the experiences and being at university and speaking to a load of people. But like Judith said, make coffee for the person who's actually volunteering or shadowing or providing that work experience for you. And always remember, these people have been in your position at one point as well, so they know what it's like. Ask some questions, when you were my age, what did you get stuck into? What your hobbies were like, and that's how you build rapport. You look at qualities and hobbies that are like similar to other people, and that's how you make friends, and you find colleagues that have similar interests in you. And that's also back to what we were speaking about, building that contact portfolio, because when you're on work experience and you're building that rapport, that person might actually have another contact for you to, I don't know, go work experience somewhere else, or give you a contact for something that you are interested in, or even like, I don't know, if you're interested in jazz class, they might tell you there's something, in your area that you could go to. So yeah, I would really say that if you are quite shy and you are quite sort of introverted, don't be afraid. This is a work experience, and this is also part of life going forward, because you're going to use those same skills in work experience and building that rapport going on for your future. I still do it to this day. I go into sort of clinical practice and placements, and I speak to doctors and just have a chit chat while having coffee, or on ward round, just ask some questions. When you were my age, how did it feel when you applied? And that's how you build rapport. So
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And I think it's quite interesting. I used to sort of almost pre-write questions that I wanted to know the answer to, because similar to you, Manpreet, I was a little bit more like, and also if you feel like you don't want to be annoying or you don't want to interrupt, but actually, as we've discussed so many times, people that you're getting work experience with, they already want you there. They're already interested in you being there. And so having that, like, proving your interest by sort of asking those questions is really important. And as I said, I sort of used to go in and I'd almost have like a pre-written list of questions in my mind that and I would know, like, okay, so I'm gonna go and understand today that if I'm on a ward round, this might come up, and maybe you're really, really interested in that section, and you can sort of think of some of those things to do as well. So thank you so much for that question. That was really good to talk about as well. But I think that's it for our questions today. So thank you so much, Judith. Thank you so much, Manpreet, for your time. We really appreciate it. And thank you so much to everyone that came. Even just coming today shows your dedication to your future career and where you want to be in the future. So don't forget that. We'll send across all the slides. We'll send across a recording so you can get all of the information that we've spoken about today and re-look over it. And we will also send some more information about Study Mind's work experience and what you can get with us as well. So thank you so much. And any questions, please feel free to email us in. And I hope you have a lovely rest of your Wednesday evening. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
thank you.